Taiwan enters the last weekend before critical recall elections that could flip the legislature. The biggest military drills of the year end, with troops prepping for new counterattack scenarios. As Taiwan continues its tariff negotiations with the U.S., Vice President Bi-khim Hsiao says the goal is to reach a deal before August 1st. Plus,
after a week of sirens and military simulations, people here in New Taipei are taking a break from the city noise and embracing the sounds of nature. Join us to find out how.
hello and welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Eric Gao. 5 more recall petitions against Taiwan's opposition lawmakers will advance to a public vote in August. Election authorities say the petitions against Kuomintang legislators have gathered enough signatures. This brings the total number of KMT lawmakers facing a possible ouster to 31. The first round of votes will take place on July 26th, followed by the second round on August 23rd. It's the last weekend push before the first round of recall votes. As party and civic campaigners gear up for the final rallies, controversies around the recall campaign fuel partisan tensions. Irene Lin reports.
It's the last weekend until voters decide the fate of 24 Kuomintang lawmakers in a critical recall vote on July 26. Campaigners are ready to hit the streets of Taipei over the weekend in the last thrust to sway people's votes. Police say roads around the legislature in Taipei will be restricted on Saturday for at least 24 hours for a pro-recall rally. Pro-recall groups have also gone on social media, calling on locally registered voters living in other parts of the country to come home to vote yes, while the KMT has been touring major cities to urge people to vote no. Meanwhile, a number of controversies around the legality of campaign activities are fueling partisan tension. In Taoyuan in northern Taiwan, photos are circulating online of campaign flyers being sent along with election notices, which would be a legal violation. The local election commission says it's looking into the matter, but the ruling Democratic Progressive Party has been quick to accuse the KMT of misconduct.
依照选罢法规定，不能夹带选举文宣。如果夹带，有可能会被判3年以下有期徒刑，这是有刑责的。可是到目前为止，这个重大的选举瑕疵，你有看到桃园市政府、桃园选委会的高官们出来讲一句“拍谁？我们这里有疏失，我们会检讨”，没有，全部推给基层。
The subject of the controversy, KMT legislator Lu Mingzhe, has rejected the claims and accused the DPP of staging the photos, with camera footage of what he claims as evidence. But potential interference may come from outside. On Thursday, the Mainland Affairs Council, which governs relations with China, says posts about Taiwan's recall movement have gained traction on Chinese social media.
那谁应该被罢免，谁不应该被罢免都由台湾人自己决定那中共不要想企图影响台湾。
With just days to go before the critical vote, pro- and anti-recall campaigners are keeping their feet on the gas to win as much support as they can, awaiting the judgment of the people. Andy Xue and Irene Lin in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's opposition parties have passed a proposal to extend the current legislative session to the end of August, making it the longest since 2012. The opposition Kuomintang and the smaller Taiwan People's Party say the extension is necessary. They say it's needed to review a recently approved U.S. tariff relief package and other regulations on AI. The ruling Democratic Progressive Party has criticized the move, saying it is meant to help KMT lawmakers who are facing recall votes this summer. Taiwan's largest annual military exercises have just wrapped up. This year's Han Kuang marks the longest ever drills, testing military scenarios Taiwan has never simulated before. Alan Liu breaks it down for us.
Taiwan's military wraps up 10 straight days of exercises. This year's Han Kuang drills were not just longer. They feature more realistic scenarios, included an unprecedented number of reservists, and put greater focus on getting the public involved in Taiwan's defense. For the first time, this year's drill kicked off with responses to gray zone warfare, including legal, cognitive, and psychological attacks. The aim was to better prepare Taiwan's military for everyday information warfare and non-traditional threats. The exercises then expanded to coastal and city defense, covering nearshore, beach, inland, and urban areas. The exercises simulated an ongoing response from the moment of enemy attack to prolonged combat, aimed at slowing down the enemy's efforts. This year saw the largest mobilization, with 22,000 reservists caught up. Civilian infrastructure like metro systems and supermarkets were also included for air defense and urban resilience exercises, putting whole-of-society defense into real-world practice. Defense analysts say this shows national defense involves more than just weapons.
外界都会认为过去的国防都指的都是飞机、大炮或武器装备，可是现在在民间在针对韧性所做的准备，或者是因应关键基础设施防护所做的调整，这些也应该都要纳入在所谓的国防预算池中。
But the exercises were not all smooth. In Taoyuan, an artillery vehicle sideswiped a civilian car. In Nantou, a military vehicle collided with a scooter. The civilians injured are now all in a stable condition. Overall, this year's drills highlighted unscripted scenarios to simulate real combat. They also stressed synchronized joint operations and clear rules of authorization to foster a more decentralized command culture.
这一次的演习，它让民众去感觉到战争是有可能发生在我们身边的。这个也跟现在的战争它并没有前方跟后方有关。就我们可以看到，不管是俄乌还是中东的战火，都可以去看到。战争是有可能在这个飞弹或者其他的一些攻击是有可能会造成城市的毁损。
As this year's Han Kuang comes to an end, Taiwan seeks to send a signal to China and to its democratic allies that it's determined to counter any military threats and protect itself. Devon Tai and Alan Liu for TaiwanPlus.
As the annual Han Kuang military drills wrap up, China has been conducting its own exercises in response. Our reporter Sandy Chi spoke to GlobSec Associate Fellow Bryce Barrows to better understand Beijing's reaction.
Taiwan has been holding its longest ever military drills. What was Beijing's response?
The Ministry of National Defense in Taiwan has published daily, a heightened level of PLA sorties, sort of incursions around Taiwan's ADIZ, as well as other sort of like elements of like deploying a drone, for example, that was able to circumnavigate the entire island. In addition, I think a lot of the sort of rhetoric that you're hearing too is very sort of boilerplate for any sort of, mainland China sort of reaction to Taiwan doing anything to heighten its own defenses, as well as work on some of the aspects of deep defense, like it has been with Han Kuang, than what it has done previously in previous years. So I think it's important to remember that there's an element of gray zone sort of continuity, right, which isn't unusual, just at a heightened level.
What should we expect from China next?
So I do feel like this is sort of a nothing out of the sort of ordinary, right? And that's not to blunt the question. I think a lot of the reactions will be similar to maybe you see a diplomatic ally get poached. That's always within the realm of possibility. So some of this stuff isn't just directly military. It also fits into the gray zone sort of thing, right? Maybe more uses of missiles being fired around the island. I would be curious to see if the PLA deploys more drones in whatever sort of defense exercises could happen once Han Kuang sort of ends.
That was GlobSec Associate Fellow Bryce Barrows. The U.S. State Department says it is U.S. policy to allow Taiwanese officials to make stopovers in the country.
Transits of the United States by high-level Taiwan officials, including presidents, are again in line with past practice and fully consistent with our longstanding policy, and such transits are undertaken with consideration for the safety, comfort, convenience, and dignity of the passenger.
Bruce was responding to a question about how Taiwan President Lai Ching-te's reported stopovers in the States might impact upcoming U.S.-China talks. U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping soon. Lai is supposed to visit allies in Central and South America in August. He transited in the U.S. state of Hawaii during a previous international trip last year. Vice President Bi-khim Hsiao has emphasized Taiwan's shared interests and long history with the U.S., even amid challenges like ongoing tariff negotiations. Cadence Caranta reports.
Speaking to foreign reporters here in Taipei today, Vice President Bi-khim Hsiao said Taiwan is pushing for a trade agreement with the U.S. on tariffs by August 1st. That's when the provisional 32% tariffs that U.S. President Donald Trump imposed on Taiwanese goods would take effect. The U.S. and Taiwan have held multiple rounds of trade negotiations, with Taipei seeking a lower tariff rate. Hsiao was also pressed on Taiwan's relationship with the U.S. more broadly, with questions about how Taiwan is maintaining that relationship under Trump, who has been seen as increasingly unpredictable and transactional. But Hsiao largely focused on the positives, which is in line with messages from the Taipei administration.
Historically, this relationship has withstood different administrations, different parties in government. It has also got the support of bipartisan members of Congress. It is an issue that has a high degree of unity now in the U.S. Congress, despite differences across many other issues in the United States. And we will continue to try to manage Taiwan, the partnership, the U.S.-Taiwan partnership, in a way that fosters unity, support, and productivity in this partnership.
Hsiao also emphasized repeatedly that the U.S. is Taiwan's most important partner in maintaining the status quo in the Taiwan Strait and for Taiwan's ability to resist coercion.
The United States is the only country in the world with the Taiwan Relations Act, which commits it to support Taiwan's self-defense capabilities, as well as our ability to resist coercion. And so this is a very important partnership that we will continue to work on. For decades, we have shared some fundamental values in peace and democracy and freedom, but we have also shared foundational interests, and that is prosperity, a stable and conflict-free Taiwan Strait.
So even amid the challenge of negotiating reciprocal tariffs while also managing Taiwan's relationship with Washington, Vice President Hsiao's message seemed to emphasize the overall stability of the relationship between Taiwan and the U.S. Leon Yen and Cadence Caranta for TaiwanPlus.
Lawmakers have been discussing how negotiations are going with Washington over the so-called reciprocal tariffs. But while that plays out, industries here are also bracing for possible new U.S. tariffs on their chips. Isabel Wong reports on how Taiwan is responding to the U.S.'s push to move more chip making stateside.
Are we ready? Are we ready? Yeah.
Surrounded by cheering Republican lawmakers, U.S. President Donald Trump has signed his One Big Beautiful Bill Act into law. This is part of his carrot and stick approach to give a 35% tax credit on chip-fed projects started in the U.S. before 2026, while threatening to impose tariffs on chip imports very soon. How worried should Taiwan's chip makers be about this? Tech analysts say the impact may be limited, especially when it comes to cutting-edge chips.
我们熟悉的10奈米以下的这个先进晶片啊，坦白讲是一点影响都没有。那个买方要卖账啊，你川普不管定多少的进口晶片的关税，高也好低也好，都不会台积电去外加的，不是台积电的成本负担，而是买家。
Aside from geopolitical tensions and national interests, are there more stories to tell about Taiwan's chip dominance? A Chip Odyssey is the first feature-length documentary about the history of Taiwan's semiconductor industry. It aims to bring people back to the 1970s and spotlight the unsung heroes who built the country's most critical industry.
我其实一直希望这个纪录片里面看到的还是人，看到的还是一个台湾的故事，看到的是这群人用了这样的一种技术跟努力，他怎么去创造了这个奇迹？我用我的旁白，用我采访这些人、收集这些故事的这种 情怀吧，我被他们打动，然后我也要把这个部分给观众。
Taiwan has been on the headlines for years, but mostly just number and talking about the factory. There are people story behind it. So every technology success, there's a people very deeply human stories. And behind this human story, there's a conviction. Hopefully can humanize Taiwan as a keyword, not just become just a buzzword.
Since its release in mid-June, A Trip Odyssey has not only accumulated over $630,000 at the box office, it has also struck a chord with Taiwanese audiences.
今天我深深的引以为傲，就是我们台湾拥有台积电，它也陆续的在世界各地陆续的投资。那我觉得这真的是我们的护国神山。
现在台湾的半导体能够竞争这么发达，我想是因为当初的那一群那个年轻的工程师他们。
While some say they felt pride, others were moved to reflect on the past and the road ahead.
我整个影片结束的时候，其实我心非常的沉重了。我那时候我第一句话就告诉我说，那台湾接下来呢？ 接下来怎么走呢？那怎么样去突破现在的困境？那目前现在面临不管是美国的关税的问题，或者是说还有人才断炊的问题，还有现在教育的问题。
我很记得赵三的讲过最后一句话，就是因为主要是我们现在台湾的不管是科技啊、经济或者是政治地位，都会有点压缩。那一句话就是要只许成功，不许失败，那才是我们对于我们自己。 就是最骄傲，但是也最该努力的一个地方。
A Trip Odyssey will begin to screen in overseas theaters starting this fall. By doing so, it aims to show a global audience that Taiwan's semiconductor journey is far more than a tech story. Instead, it's a result of sacrifice, belief, and relentless effort from a generation of engineers that built the nation's silicon shield. Alex Chen and Isabel Wang for TaiwanPlus.
And stay tuned to TaiwanPlus News. Coming up after the break, a university medical ethics scandal is only getting bigger. Start your weekend with a cup of coffee and a moment to reflect on what happened this week.
Hello and welcome.
We've got you covered, from defense and politics to high tech and the arts.
Not just to Taiwan, the whole world is watching.
You make the coffee, we make the news. Here's what happened on TaiwanPlus.
I'm Leslie Liao in Paris, France, and this is TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. A medical ethics scandal that has rattled Taiwan is growing bigger as prosecutors step in to protect evidence. Students who say they were forced to give blood as part of a research project are happy that the government is taking them seriously. But with facts in dispute and an inquiry yet to begin, the case is far from closed. John Van Trieste reports.
Camera flashes fill the lobby of the Education Ministry, where the latest chapter in an ethics scandal that shocked the country is unfolding. Surrounded by lawmakers and officials is Jian Qisheng. She's one of a group of student athletes from National Taiwan Normal University who say their coach forced them to give frequent blood samples to a research project or fail the course she taught. Jian says she just wants an apology and a way forward.
这是我们第一次认真的倾听，认真解决。他们不用带着情绪说话，他们也不用很大声的说话，他们只是听怎么做、怎么处理，该哪个部会去处理，怎么样积极的去追。
Jian says she's not out for vengeance or to smear reputations, but the lawmakers and officials who met with her today say this may be the end of Coach Zhou Taiying's decades-long career.
由体育署检讨，撤销周姓教练的教练证，并付之所有的相关的这个运动社团。
And there may be consequences for others involved in the blood sample research, as it was part of a government sports science project.
我们会跟国科会有个专案小组，一样会去清查过去的相关的研究计划，我们会全面稽查一并处理。
For now, officials and lawmakers are agreed on several points. There will be a cross-ministerial inquiry. There will be an investigation into the university's administrative mistakes. And there will be a single channel for more students who felt pressured to give blood to come forward. But there's much more to come. The coach has disputed some reports about the case in an interview with the United Daily News. She says that while she's willing to take any punishment, the idea that this was bullying or harming students is overblown. And she says media reports claiming the students had blood drawn 3 times a day, sometimes by people with no medical qualifications, are false. As the facts are settled, there could be legal consequences. Taipei prosecutors have launched a criminal inquiry and ordered evidence protected. The university isn't getting off either. It's barred from reviewing any research related to the human body for now. It'll have to pay a $37,000 fine and report to the Education Ministry on its plans for improvement in the next 3 months. Meanwhile, investigators are tasked with piecing together how such an ethical violation could have happened. Klein Wang and John Van Trieste in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's legislature has passed a bill that will give harsher penalties to convicted child abusers. Under the new rules, those who cause the death of a child under the age of 7 could face the death penalty. This is in response to public outrage over the death of a child known as Kai Kai, an infant who was abused to death by 2 nannies in 2023. Government data show that child abuse cases have been on the rise in Taiwan in recent years, with over 2,400 reported cases in 2024. At least 4 people are dead and over 1,000 have been evacuated after record-breaking rains flooded parts of South Korea. South Zhejiang province near Seoul was hit hardest, with rains causing landslides, collapsing highway overpasses, and weakening concrete retaining walls. Since Wednesday, rainfall in some areas reached 420 millimeters, marking the largest hourly record in South Korea since records began. A new tropical storm has formed and will be closest to Taiwan from Friday night through Saturday morning. The Central Weather Administration has issued a sea warning as tropical storm Wipa passes south of the country. Heavy rain is expected along the east coast and southern regions, with intense showers possible as far north as Taipei. Southern Taiwan is still recovering from Typhoon Dinas, which hit the region hard earlier this month. After a week of air raid sirens and drills, people in New Taipei are taking a breather to reflect on the noise on the streets. Reese Ayers was there.
Taiwan's cities are bursting with energy. But for many of us, that energy comes with a cost. Noise pollution is everywhere, from traffic to city maintenance to bustling streets. But in one of the world's most crowded urban areas, a quiet revolution is underway. One that doesn't march, but listens. This is Taiwan's take on World Listening Day, where quietude takes center stage. In the heart of New Taipei's urban sprawl, this year's theme, Urban Quiet, Battles and Exercises Beneath the Noise, invites the public to hear what they usually ignore, the city's quieter voices. Part experience, part workshop, part civic dialogue, the event explores how we live with noise and what happens when we tune in rather than tune out.
这样子的活动其实就带着我们，像刚刚我们把眼睛遮住，它其实就是把我们的一个感官关掉，让我们用耳朵去听这个世界的声音，或者这环境的声音，其实是很丰富的。
Listening Day is also about raising awareness about noise exposure, particularly for those who work in loud environments every day.
职业场域的话，我们通常是以90分贝为一个基准就如果说你暴露在85分贝以上，超过8个小时，那我们就要做这个所谓的听力保健的一个介入的。
The event comes just a day after Taiwan's annual urban resilience drills. It touches on the duality of the island's unique soundscape, where the delicate sounds of Mother Nature must compete with the wails and booms of military exercises and civil defense drills. All part of Taiwan's sonic identity, one deeply tied to its geopolitical reality. Researchers from Taiwan's leading research institute, Academia Sinica, are using modern tech to identify parts of the city more prone to noise pollution.
We try to build up the 2D and the 3D real-time noise environment, noise map in Taipei. So noise map is a very intuitive way to represent how the environment, how noisy we suffered. We want to enable the so-called AI recognition on that. Okay, so not only the decibel, but also the kinds of sounds.
By mapping the city's sounds in real time, researchers are helping local governments pinpoint problems so they can tackle noise pollution faster and plan for a quieter future.
那未来我们可能从这个监测的数据声纹图，就可以立刻知道说，好，这边有飙车的噪音，这边有营建工地的噪音，这边有卡拉 OK 的噪音，而且大部分都出现在什么时候，我们就可以立刻主动出击去打击这些噪音。
As sound data turns into city policy, workshops like this become a testing ground, where researchers, officials and communities explore how to live better with the noises that shape daily life. Whether it's the wind in the trees or the sirens in the street, Taiwan's soundscape is rich and complex. In a world that's always telling us to speak up, here we're reminded to listen and how to better coexist with the noise all around us. Eason Chen and Rhys Ayres for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with more images from this year's Han Kuang exercise. I'm Eric Gao. Take care. We'll see you next time.